Okay. Okay. Eric Arnold back here in the sports barn, the warm sports barn here on Monday, the 18th of May, probably about 3:30 in the afternoon. Warm in more than one way. It's upwards of 90 degrees today here in May in eastern Pennsylvania, and it's going to be hotter tomorrow. Woo, hard to believe. We've won 2 days in a row, Saturday and Sunday. About, 243, 2.4 units yesterday. We're still down for we've only started here this past week, so 4 days in, we had a horrible start, which I told you was, I think, somewhat to be expected as we're coming off a 3-year layoff, so what do you expect? So I think, we're starting to time up the fastball a little bit now, and I don't know if we're ready to go 3 for 4 tonight, but 2 days in a row we've had profitable days. So oddly, full card today on Monday. Usually Mondays and Thursdays are somewhat light. People taking days off and what have you, but not today. We got just about a completely full card. I believe only the Cardinals and somebody else are off. So hey, let's do it. Let's jump into it here. Old business, I just mentioned that we won yesterday. Where were we good yesterday? I changed all the boards, so it's going to be, hey, you know what? If only we had notes. If only we had a record of what we had done here. We were good in Tampa. We loved that game. Skeens let us down. Yeah, and that's kind of was my default setting is don't bet Skeens. Here I go ahead, bet Skeens, and he screwed us. We were good in Atlanta. Baltimore come through. The model really loved that game. I don't know why, but it came through hard. What else? We liked the Mets. They got lucky there at the end. We liked the Cubs, and they screwed us. We loved the Dodgers. That came through. The Padres just keep kicking ass. So, mixed bag. We ultimately were up 2 units and change yesterday. So what do we got today? Oh, that's all. Tell me who's going to win, especially the Reds game. I know subscriber X has absolutely no patience. If you looked at him, you'd have no patience either. He's near the end. Don't know what'll happen there. So he needs to maximize his time. Now the model loves this game, and I'm just kind of like, but I guess we're going to do it. I don't know if I would actually have the guts to, I'm not trusting the model yet, and I do believe the model is, for the most part, right. And the model loves Baltimore here. I guess the thinking is that Tampa's getting, away. They're playing, I think, much better than they are. They're chasing. They're in first place. The Yankees are chasing them. That's one of the things where I think the model maybe mistakes that somewhat. In other words, you got a great record, but you have to try to win that division. So even though you got a great record, if there's another team sitting right there with a great record, well, then that kind of lessens your inclination to coast. So the model says the Rays are going to coast tonight. And I don't know. I mean, I know this. Baltimore is one of those teams that plays all right down there in that goofy dome because they're down there so often as a divisional opponent. Trevor Rogers has been complete shit, and he's going tonight for the Orioles. That's what makes me nervous, is I just don't know that guy's going to deliver. He's been total shit. I'm going to leave it there, and I'll probably regret it. I think the only reason I'm going to leave it there is Gunnar Henderson actually played like a star yesterday. He had 4 hits. He actually looked like the best player on the field for once. Perhaps he's finally rounding into form. He has been shit for the first 6 weeks. The record of the Orioles reflects that. You get him going. Rushman's already been playing all right. So you get those two going at the top of the lineup. Maybe that generates some offense for the Orioles. So we'll leave it there. Had a price. Hopefully we'll catch a price. The second game, I didn't know what to do with this. This one just felt, it's like, what? You know, Detroit's been total shit, especially lately because of their injuries. Cleveland's leading the division for what that's worth. Cleveland has been playing, 88, 90 win baseball, which is about the ceiling for the Indians. Detroit's been just bad. But why are they such big favorites? Why? And somebody told me once, somebody, one of those people, I don't even know if it was the messenger so much or the message, but it always rang true with me. You ever have somebody tell you something that you got absolutely no data to back up, but you just say to yourself, well, that's true. It just rings true. It just feels true. And that was this, that when you got a bad team and they're favored, and that's a significant favorite, over a seemingly better team. Now, he always, would look at this as far as like football. He was a football guy, this man. The great Richard Lee Kaufman. The great Richard Lee Kaufman, he was a good football handicapper, believe it or not. And he would say, well, if that team that's ranked and they're underdogs to an unranked team, there must be a reason for that. Somebody knows something. So, it just seemed true. It seemed like he would win more often than not with that. And I believe this is where we're at here, in that the Tigers, who have been total shit, are favored for a reason. Framber Valdez, last time out at home, was just blown up, embarrassed, humiliated by a not very good Red Sox team. And I think he's going to want to get back out there and pitch well. He's much the superior pitcher to the Indians pitcher. And I do think that we're going to take a chance and lay the wood with the bad team, thinking that somebody knows something. The Tigers are going to show up tonight. This is a game that means a lot more to the Tigers than it does to the Indians. In other words, the Guardians, Indians, same thing, have a lead in the division. Detroit, if they don't play well this series, it's getting late early. You dig a 10-game ditch for yourself. I think they did that last year. Or they were ahead last year. They were way ahead last year. And the other team came from behind. So, needless to say, you don't want to get that far behind before Memorial Day. So, we'll take the Tigers. This one I thought was easy. Why on earth would you're getting minus 104 with one of the best teams in baseball? I see no reason whatsoever to get off of the Braves right now, and that's a cheap price. I know why. Max Meyer. It's Max Meyer. I'm so tired of hearing about Max Meyer. This is one of these guys who was a first-round pick, a million years ago for the Marlins, and frankly, he's never developed. I think he's 50 now, 50 years old, and he's just never developed. And then once in a while, he'll show a flash where You know, he'll strike 10 guys out. I'm pretty sure he throws 100 miles an hour, just like everybody else does these days. And everybody gets all excited. So to me, you're catching a premium price right now for Atlanta. You know, in other words, that's a bargain. You're paying for Max Meyer, paying way too much. Atlanta is just better than the Marlins. It's not comparable. It's not close. The Atlanta is playing much, much better than the Marlins. So that's where we'll be there. Another game here where you just look at this one and go, thank you. Thank you. You know, the Phillies are hot. As much as I hate this team, they're making me hate them every less and less every game, where just whatever obstacles in front of them right now, they just jump right over it. Kyle Schwarber is on a pace right now to easily surpass 60 home runs. Bryce Harper is playing well. Oh, I hate to say that. God, I hate that guy. But he is playing well right now. I'm not going to use the E word because he's not. He's not elite. Not elite. Sorry, Bryce, not elite. You know, show me more. Nick Lodolo, this guy hasn't gotten anybody out since he's come off the injured list. The Phillies are countering with Andrew Painter, who's just so. But, you know, Andrew Painter, there's potential there. He's young. Sometimes pitching, like hitting, is contagious. And the Phillies are coming off back-to-back shutouts. You know, their big dogs just wiped out the Pirates, and the Pirates scored some runs. And Christopher Sanchez and Zach Wheeler just wiped them out Saturday and Sunday. 0-0. So I'm hoping Painter kind of like, all right, yeah, maybe I can do it too. What a cheap price. The Phillies are home. What a cheap price. Guess where the Reds play terrible? In Philadelphia. So, you know, this is one you gotta want. You gotta want that. You gotta want that. I went back and forth on this one, and I'm going to just go ahead here with the Washington. I don't feel great about this game. I think the Mets, you know, they're feeling good about themselves. They took 2 out of 3 over the Yankees, but definitely got lucky in at least one of those games, maybe both. I really don't think they're that good. Their pitching is not good. Washington's pitching's not good, but Washington has an offense, and I'm not convinced the Mets have an offense yet. So I think the Nationals are going to score some runs tonight. I just, you know, I don't play overs and unders. I just don't. I don't, you know, have the feel for that. I never have. I guess it's something I could look to broaden my horizons and try to, you know, make it part of my routine and say, well, why can't we pick overs and unders? I mean, you know, if we could, it's just another test, right? And I told you, historically, I have been a premium test taker. I always could get good grades on tests that I knew something reasonably about the subject. So it's just another test, right? But for now, I don't know. We'll just go ahead and say Washington's pitching. You know, Jake Irvin's one of the worst pitchers in baseball. If you look at his numbers, you go, oh my God. You know, I think he led the league in giving up home runs last year. He wins. The guy wins. In other words, the market thinks he's even worse than he actually is, and the dude returns money for you. So I think that's a possibility tonight, that Jake Irvin might go out there and give up 5 runs, and the Nationals will score 8 and winner for us. So that's where we're there. This is a Jason game. I hate this game, but it's the Jason game. This is an absolute Jason game. He has Ron Weathers on his team, and the guy is suddenly good. This guy's been terrible his whole career. Now, the Yankees drop him into their rotation, and the guy's doing business. And you say to yourself, how's that possible? Well, Jason knows. Jason knows. The guy never loses. He's the best fantasy player in our league, and our fantasy league's good. It really is a good league. You look at them, some of the people in the league, and just looking at them, you go, holy cow, what a bunch of idiots. No, sir. This is the major leagues of fantasy baseball, and he's the best. So he knows Ron Weathers is good. Again, this is back to the Detroit thing where the Yankees aren't playing well. Why on earth? 167. That's a steep number. But Weathers is going to be good. I feel comfortable in that. This is another game here where we're kind of doing this in a number of spots. There, we're doing it with the Yankees. They just got beat by the little brother. So we're thinking they're pissed. They're going to, Toronto, remember, we're fading them all year long because that's a jinx team. Same deal. Cubs should have won 2 out of 3 in that series. And, they just caught angry little brother at the wrong time and lost 2 out of 3 in some close games, too. I had a fella try to trade me, let's just basically say Shota Imanaga, that's the pitcher tonight for the Cubs, for Bobby Witt. And, I immediately started laughing and was offended. Then I actually looked at Imanaga's stats, and he's been one of the best pitchers in the league this year. If I remember right, he was one of the best pitchers in the league last year, and then he faded in the second half. Well, we're not in the second half. So for our purposes tonight, he's probably good. He's probably good. We think that the Cubs are ready to go ahead, and they've been good at home. They've been good at home. Milwaukee's not throwing one of their better pitchers. So we think that the Cubs will get out early and just, front run it to the end. Their bullpen's not bad. We like Palencia. We feel comfortable with him, even though he probably was I didn't see the box score of the Cubs-White Sox game yesterday. But we like the Cubs. This one, this is a hunch. It's a hunch. I mean, Boston just feels like a dead team right now. They really, Trevor Story, he's out now. I almost think that might, here I am again. I'm going to argue for the other team. In fact, I'm starting to argue it right now, and I'm convincing myself. This is one I have absolutely no reason to tell you why Kansas City's going to win. They won yesterday, and they had scored 2 runs. I'm going to say we're changing this one on the fly to Boston. If for no other reason that I just came up with the reason why. I think that Trevor Story being out of the lineup is a plus for the Red Sox. That means they're going to get another young guy in there. The Red Sox got a bunch of talented young guys. Story's a malcontent. He's, all grumpy because they fired his buddy, Alex Cora. So now he's out of the lineup. And they've never done anything with Story in the lineup anyway. So I think that's a plus for the Red Sox. So we're going to go ahead there with the Red Sox. That's just me trying to, be Mr. Hunch player, Well, I got to pick one. And I got no rationale for the Royals, so it's better than nothing, right? Another one. Jeez, I hate this game. The model loves this game. 2 terrible teams. But the model loves the Twins. I'm kind of, the Twins are terrible. But I guess the the Astros pitcher is, he's pitched 12 innings and given up 12 runs? Something like that. The Twins, I kind of feel, have something kind of brewing. Their offense sucks, but I think the 2 guys that they got coming up, Prelap Prelip, and Zebby Matthews, yeah, they look a little bit exciting to me. You know, you couple them with Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober, that's not terrible. You know, that's not a terrible front four. You know, anymore now, if you can get 4 guys together in a starting rotation that can throw, say, I don't know, let's just say 15 games in a row together, you're probably going to make the playoffs because nobody can keep anybody healthy. Everybody, you know, just boom, you're down. 4 good starts, boom, down. You know, my elbow hurts, boom, my knee hurts. It's terrible the way these pitchers, and it's not even pitchers, it's mostly pitchers, but the position players, they can't stay healthy either. So that's another thing I think we need to start thinking about. Believe it or not, I actually did that. I actually have on my notes a list of the teams ranked by some guy who probably knows more about it than I do, the strength of their farm systems, because obviously we can't know every last player. I don't know who the hell A.J. Ewing is. I never even heard those words until the middle of last week. You know, once again, I thought, oh, A.J. Ewing steals bases. Oh, hey, it's a white guy. I didn't know that. I don't know these people, but if you rank their farm systems, you got a better idea of, wow, Kevin McConaughey, he's from the Tigers. Tigers have a good farm system. He's probably good, and he is. Somebody comes up out of the Phillies system. Well, he probably sucks because the Phillies farm system stinks. You know, that type of thing. So I think the Twins have a half-decent farm system. That one, I could be wrong. I'm making that one up. I honestly don't remember where they're ranked. But these 2 dudes, Prelip and Zebby Matthews, have not thrown poorly. They've thrown okay, and the Twins are going to need them. Neither one's pitching tonight, so that has nothing to do with anything as far as what we're talking tonight. I'm just kind of making a case here that I think the Twins could be, you know, say, all right, we're not that bad. We're not that bad, and I think the Astros are that bad. You know, they're in that Nero phase of Rome where the empire is all rotted out and it's old and corrupt and, well, the perfect analogy there for the Astros. It's old and they were corrupt when they were powerful, but it's rotting from the inside, and their farm system has been eaten away by trades to try to extend the window of the existing stars. And that's where I kind of see they're already 10 games under 500. And I see nothing that team is anything other than that. You know, that they earned that record, and I think they're just going to be bad all year. So I think it's an okay price, -111. That's not hateful. We'll go ahead there. I think you're pretty safe there. We're going to play against the Mackenzie Gore with the Rangers. He's one of these guys that another number 1 pick who's never panned out. He'll, you know, strike 10, 15 guys out, and he'll lose. You know, that type of deal. He's going tonight for the Rangers. They're not playing great. They're in the American League least. That's a nice price at home for a dog. We think the Rockies are, you know, I'm not even sure if they're the worst team in the league. I hate that. I have yet to get that. Well, I got them right yesterday. I said they'd lose yesterday, and they did. So one for me. It's a weirdo place to play. And Texas is not used to that place. So I'm kind of hoping that they go in there and they just say, what is this? And next thing you know, some of the Rockies have squared up Mackenzie Gore, and somehow the Rockies win. So don't love that game. Another game I don't love, Oakland and the Angels. I don't think I've gotten an A game right yet. Just keep missing this team. I just can't. I keep waiting for them to do something because they've got all this great young talent, and they just keep losing. It's like they shouldn't have lost to the Giants this weekend. They did. The Angels are terrible. That's where I'm just kind of like, you can't pick the Angels. You just can't. I mean, that's a bad team. Looking at my notes here. Yeah, that's what I thought. I've got the Angels marked down. Duh, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not picking the Angels. That's a hopeless franchise. You're going to say, well, what's the difference between them and the Athletics? I don't know. There's talent on that A's team. There's talent. I mean, Shea Langoliers is a wrecking crew. That guy is a destructive person. And he plays for the A's. Nick Kurtz is a good player. He plays for the A's. That's probably as far as that goes. But I can't name one guy on the Angels that's worth a damn. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and say the A's, after, not playing so good against the crosstown rival, get a fresh look, feel a little better about themselves. We think they've got an edge. Walbert Arena for the Angels, we don't think he's all that great. And we know their bullpen's terrible. So we'll say the A's are somewhat less terrible than the Angels. I like this one. Robbie Ray notwithstanding, he's one of those guys I usually like to fade. A high strikeout, high walk, always short pitcher. But he's facing another guy like that, in Zach Gallen. And we're getting paid, and the Giants generally play pretty well down in Phoenix. So I think that's a pretty safe one with the Giants. Coming into this season, I was high on the Giants. I liked the idea of hiring the college coach, that the guy was a winner, like nobody's business in college. I think a lot of those fundamentals simply carry over. I think managing a baseball team sometimes isn't about X's and O's. It's about people. It's about culture, personalities. And I thought, if this guy is able to instill that winning culture in San Francisco, they're going to be all right. They're going to do better than people think. And then they got off to a terrible start, and I just kind of forgot about it. But now they're starting to win a few games, and I'm starting to think, maybe this college guy is getting his message across. So we're going to go ahead and give him a little rope here. I don't know we've gotten him right yet. That's another one where we haven't done so well. Another Jason game. This is one where the White Sox, they probably went to Seattle without an airplane after taking 2 out of 3 from the Cubs and just sticking it to all those Cubs fans in their stadium and sticking it right up their ass. Oh my God, they have got to be super high, sky high, maybe a little too high. Yeah, I remember, I don't know why I remember this, but I'm gonna date myself and say my age was probably around 11. And we had, my little league team had just won a big game, probably beat like the crosstown rival or Morgantown. Probably beat the other Plowville team. There were 2 Plowville teams. Plowville is big enough that there are 2 teams, or were, if you can believe that. So we had won a big game, and I remember we're going to play a team we don't play that often over in Honeybrook, the Honeybrook Orioles. And They had a pretty good record, but we never play them, so we don't really know. It's like, And I remember our coach, Mr. Fike, gave the pregame speech, and he was like, "Yeah, they think they're so good. Let's knock them off their high horse," and they just kicked our ass. I remember that we must have lost that game 12-2. I remember thinking, yeah, maybe they probably belong on that high horse because they're actually good. Now, what's this have to do with anything? I don't know. I think the point is that the White Sox are flying too high, and Jason has Brian Wu, so I'm reasonably confident that Brian Wu is going to be just fine tonight, that he's going to go out and pitch a good game, and unless the White Sox, they're not going to score. The White Sox will not score off of Brian Wu. All the Mariners got to do is score a couple runs off of Noah Schultz, and I'm going to say somehow they're going to get that done. And this will probably be a 3-2, 4-2 win for the Mariners. All right. We got to lay the number, but it's a Jason game, so we're not afraid to do that. We love this game. We love it. 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 The Admiral Yamamoto going against King. Michael King? Mark King? Who is that? A guy for the Padres. Yamamoto, he's a premium pitcher. He won the MVP in the World Series last year. I mean, he is good. The Dodgers are good. The Dodgers are starting to, get their guys healthy in that Mookie Betts starting to get healthy. They more or less have a full deck. Who's missing? They got Freeman, they got Ohtani, Pages, he's a good player, their center fielder, and with their best pitcher going tonight. Minus 138, that's it? No, oh no. That's not nearly enough. That's a bargain all day long. We're betting that one to the bank, absolutely. So what do we really like here tonight? We love the Dodgers. We love the Phillies. The model likes the Twins. Us, not so much. The model likes the Orioles. Us, not so much. Yeah. Well, that's what we like. That's what we like. So let's see if we can keep it going. It's fun when you're on a roll. It's fun. So I think how do I feel about this? Some I like better than others. Some I like better than others. We're relying a lot on Jason's team. We're relying on Ryan Weathers and Brian Wu to pitch well. If they pitch poorly, we're going to be in a 3-unit hole, which is hard to dig out of. So I take that back. Framber Valdez as well. 3 Jason guys going tonight. 3 Jason guys. So, like I said, he never loses. He never loses. So you're saying, well, I'm trusting this guy I don't even know. You're trusting this Jason guy. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either. But he never loses. So I'm going to think all those guys are going to pitch perfectly well. None of them are going to get blown up. Hell, Jason's guy pitched yesterday and he did get blown up. And he still won. Freddie Peralta. So that's the way that is. All right, that's how that is. I don't know what I believe in anymore. More winning baseball picks. Let's go for that. Oh, tragic news, Daryl Turner. Tragic news. There's probably not going to be a show tomorrow. Yeah, I volunteer at the township to count the votes. And tomorrow's election day. What that means is I got to show up down there at 6 a.m. and I don't get released till 8 p.m. So 14 hours. Isn't that a line out of Who Are You by The Who? 14 hours in the tin pan, there must be another way. 14 hours down there, Jesus Christ. So But that leaves no time to make a video. And believe me, I'm busy down there. It's not like I have 20 minutes where I could sneak off in a corner and hold the phone out and go, I like Toronto. You know, it just won't have that time. So unless I do the video like at 4 a.m. maybe before I leave here, man, we'll see how it goes tonight. Pile up a bunch of winners. I might be so damn excited I'm out here at 4 a.m. That's possible. It's possible, not likely, possible. We'll talk again.